All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. Man, got a good episode today. Craig Lund, whistleblower, author of Silicon Satan. Craig, lots of things have been happening in your life since you've been coming out publicly. Big things.
Lots.
I just, we honor your bravery here on this channel, and I know it's been a pretty crazy, it's been a pretty crazy life for you. You've sold out, I don't want to say sold out, but you've been very outspoken, spoken out against some big names in the tech industry, and you've talked about the rituals, the ceremonies. You've seen it all. Welcome, Craig. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Nino, for having me. I know I've been very problematic in the past, but that's all part of it, part of the process, I suppose.
So, you wrote this book, Silicon Satan, and it was very impactful. A lot of my audience got it. I have the book. I haven't read it yet because I've been talking to you for so much, but I'm getting ready to. I'm going to read it. But like, in all honesty, you've really been coming out with these, although some people think outlandish claims, right? Saying that, they sacrifice babies, they do blood rituals. These people are sick. They really do 100% believe in what they're doing. They really do, worship the entity, the deity, the god Lucifer. Correct? We're square on that.
Correct. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell.
Because some people can look at this and a lot of people out there with very high Qs, very open-minded people might be like, maybe it's just a bunch of rich people just bored and they have nothing else to do, so they keep ratcheting it up, going to the next level, and these ceremonies and rituals are just nothing more to get blackmail on certain people, dirt on others, and just they're just bored. They're just very rich people that are extremely bored. Are you saying that's not the case?
Well, I agree. There are people that do that. There are people that take this as a hobby and as a religion, and they get a certain ways with it, a certain amount of power with it. But the people I'm talking about are completely different. These people do things that make what you're talking about seem kind of simple, and they're successful at it. I mean, look at them. They own the world. They own everything. They're out to. Their goal is to take over completely, take over the universe, not just the world, not just the kingdom here, but the entire universe at this point. And they're getting there, right? They seem to be making headway. They're getting very close. But of course, God is like he always does. He will intervene at the last minute. And I think this big reset that everybody's waiting for will be just another God intervention. And, to do that, think of the Tower of Babel. He intervened and he scattered everything. And that was basically a reset, right? Everybody was scattered. They had to relearn everything. They had to figure everything out. It took them thousands of years. And here we are.
It seems like there's a lot of resets throughout human history. I've been studying a lot on Tartaria, and there could have been a reset between 1776 and 1850. There's a lot of things out there that we just don't know. It's like our species has amnesia, and it just seems to me that that's engineered, that's done on purpose.
Right, a lot of that is by design. You have a phone. We all have phones, and there's all kinds of data being taken from it, but we don't even get to see that data. They get to use it against us, but we don't even get to see what they're using, right? So they're collecting data off our devices that is about us, and we don't even. So think of all the other information that's out there that we don't get to see for making good decisions. Of course, they're going to keep all that info away from us and confuse us, keep us confused, and keep us divided.
Well, we've been talking about this even before. I've had you on the show before. The big AI data center explosion that's been happening. We've been talking about how this is coming, and they're building this digital prison right underneath our noses. And the only way you can protect yourself from that, folks, is gold and silver, baby. Get your noble gold. AI is getting smarter every day. So are the hackers using it. Your bank account, your retirement, your savings, all of it sitting on a server protected by just a little password. AI can crack in just seconds. How much your wealth exists only as a number on the screen. You need something AI can't touch. Noble Gold Investments help Americans secure physical gold held in your hand or in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com today. Get started, folks, because we're coming into it, and you're going to want something tangible. You're going to want something solid, something you can hold in your hand, right, Craig?
Right, exactly. We bought gold a long time ago. I'm glad that we did, because we may need it real soon.
You like my segues?
Yeah. That was perfect. Even caught me off guard.
Guys, I'm trying to get everyone off guard with this stuff.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's go back a little bit, and let's recap on what you've seen, where you've been at, and where you're at now. Just for my audience that might be just catching up on Craig Lund, who Craig Lund is. Craig Lund is the author of Silicone Satan, a book that's catching fire right now on the internet. Craig, let's go into this. So give us your background and where all this started for you.
Well, I grew up on my grandfather's very large horse ranch in Central California. I was being groomed to take over the ranch, and then it all fell apart. This is like 60s and 70s, and it fell apart because the generation between me and my grandfather squandered it all. So I needed something to do, and I was really good at math and physics, had a real affinity and real aptitude for it. So I found myself in Monterey Peninsula City College, and I had some really good professors there because they also worked at the Post-Naval Naval Academy across the street. And that's when I started getting, that's when they said, you're not going to make any money in physics and math. You need to go into computer science. So that's how I kind of started in computer science. And even though I was a high school dropout, they helped me get into Cal Poly. And at the time, Cal Poly was one of the few universities out there that even had a computer science program. Once I was there, I started meeting people. I ended up at Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant as an intern. And then as soon as I graduated, I landed in Silicon Valley, running. And I wanted to be rich. I was a young engineer, and I wanted to be filthy rich. And there's a path to the billionaire club that starts in Silicon Valley. And it's not the kind of thing where you have to go, they come looking for you. It's the kind of thing where you're allowed to cultivate your own path to where you want to get. And most people in Silicon Valley want to be filthy rich. I was one of them. Once you get on that path, you start learning, you start making compromises. You start doing things you didn't think you would ever do. But
so hold on, this sounds a lot like Hollywood, like all the industries really, because if you want to move up the ranks, you got to play ball with the people that are at the top, and they will make sure that they can humiliate you, get dirt on you, get blackmail as you move up the ladder. But they let you get to a certain point first, right, Craig?
Right, because along the way they're breaking your spirit a little bit, and they're getting you to break all your taboos, and they're grooming you to be one of them. And again, the same thing works in Hollywood. But people have this idea that you go to Hollywood and you announce, "I'm here to sell my soul for fame and fortune," and where do I sign? And people will show up. That's not the way it works. For Silicon Valley, I didn't know that there was this billionaire club path. I wasn't looking for it. I knew what I wanted, and someone somehow was helping me along the way get there. And it was very fast. It was a very fast track for me. I shot up the ranks very fast. Before I even knew what I was doing, it was almost too late. You get to a point where you can't get out of that club because you know too much. It's like a motorcycle club. It's like Hell's Angels or anything. Once you get to a certain point, you really can't get out. I did escape, and really it was literally an escape. I had to leave everything behind, and I ended up cleaning stalls up in Northern California at a horse outfit, and that worked out really well for me. It gave me a chance to sort of unwind and debrief myself, and then I kind of went into hiding for like 25 years after.
Let's backtrack a little bit.
Sorry,
I know you're like going faster, but let's backtrack. What did you see? What happened to you where you were like, I got to get out of this. I got to escape. How did you start getting approached? You started going to parties. What happened?
Yeah, so it kind of starts with, you get invites, to maybe it's just a dinner with a bigwig, and you feel really great, and all your colleagues are jealous, and then once you get past that, then you get to another invite, then you go to a party, and then suddenly you're sort of like getting into orgies, and it's a really quick process, and who doesn't want, young man, who doesn't want to be with a bunch of women, right?
Of course.
Especially at that age and that time, this was pre-AIDS and everything, and it was the Lucy's and the whole culture was different back then than it is now. Now I don't think I would survive at all in over there. I wouldn't even try now, but back then it was still workable. I still had a certain amount of my own power left. And then you start doing the rituals, and then you start going places, and pretty soon you realize, I'm changing. Something is changing. You realize you're changing, and it's not for the best, but you're getting rewarded. You're getting these fantastic rewards. You're going places. You're going to parties. You're getting women, drugs. You're having fun. You're getting money, and promises. And then you start realizing these people are working towards a goal, and this goal is very nefarious, right? And so you kind of put that on the back shelf, but it's always there. And you keep thinking, well, I just want to get rich. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get rich, get out of here. But and then you realize you can't get out. And then what happened to me was I got to the point where I was going to go to hell. I realized that at some point. So that's when and it was not easy to get out, but I did.
How bad were these rituals?
Well, we're all talking about them now. See, if I had written this book 5 years ago, or I did, right? Well, if I had written this book 5 years earlier, nobody would have believed me. They would have scoffed. This doesn't happen. If I wrote it now, people would think I was just copycatting everything, right?
Yeah, that's exactly where we're at with this now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. We're all talking about the things that I was hiding from, things I didn't want to tell, things I was scared to tell, because first I didn't think people would believe me, and second I thought people would think of some kind of monster. But if the timing was just damn perfect, and I don't have anything to do with that. That was all God, because the book came out, it kind of sat there. And then the Epstein files came out, and the Epstein files are kind of like an independent confirmation source for everything that's in that book. So the Epstein files are names, places, dates, and my book is all the gory details, right?
But what people need to realize too with the Epstein files, only the G-rated stuff came out, right?
Right.
None of the rated R, the really bad stuff. I didn't see any of that in there. The people have been sending me the emails and sending me things. I'm like, okay. They definitely knew what they were doing releasing this stuff. It's only the G-rated stuff, man. People that can only the stuff people can digest and absorb, because we know how dark and deep this stuff really goes. And if they release all that, I think people would be jumping off roofs, man, to know how bad humanity is and how bad these sickos are and what they were really doing to children. It goes beyond your comprehension. It goes beyond the human imagination. Correct? Craig?
Correct. I get emails all the time from folks who said they read my book and it was like a slap in the face, because they had to put the pieces. It forced them to put the pieces together that they were avoiding all this time. It's like, yes, they're not just going to these clubs and diddling little girls on this. No, they're doing far worse things at these rituals. Far worse. If you read
there's hunting parties. There's where they release humans out into the wilderness and hunt them down. They capture them.
That wasn't going on during my time, because it was a different time, and the club has evolved. The rituals have evolved. There probably were hunting parties, but I was never involved in anything like that. It was pretty much the same kind of thing over and over again. You go to a ritual and you get rewarded. You go to another one, you get rewarded. You go to another one, you get rewarded, and it's exciting and fun, and you're going places, and you feel like you're achieving, you're successful, and you get full of yourself, and I can see why people are so trapped in it. It's really hard to get out, and even if you want to, and most times you don't want to. They got it wired.
What's the reward? You go see some baby get.
No, that's not the reward. The reward is power and position.
I'm saying you see something like that, right? You see along the line. This is YouTube, so I'm keeping it friendly. But you see something happen to a child or a baby, and then after that, what's the reward?
Power and position. I mean, you're always working towards power and position. The money's already there. If there's a lot of people who are making a lot of money, in Silicon Valley, they don't know anything about this. You don't have to know anything about this to get rich in Silicon Valley. You're just not going to get filthy rich, and you're not going to get in the "we're going to live forever, take over the world and live forever" club. That's the goal. So the ultimate goal, when you get in that position that I was on, you get on that path that I was on, is power and position, because that feels really good. You already have the money. The money's easy, and this promise that you're going to be one of the elites, one of the chosen, one of the people. See, they have this whole thing figured out. And I don't think it's necessarily by their design, because they believe it. They truly believe that God is the bad God, and their God is the good God, and their God is going to save humanity from our bad God. I mean, they truly do believe that, and they truly do believe that they're Lucifer's tool to make this happen.
Why do they believe our God is the bad God? Is it because he placed us into an enclosed system we can't escape, because I know the Luciferians are really big on trying to escape this and go to war, break through the heavens to go to war with God. I mean,
right.
So to them, they have to feel like God is like imprisoning us, maybe.
Right. So to them, God is the imposter. God tricked Lucifer in the garden and took over the control room, the throne room, right? So their mission is to break into the control room, and I think that's what CERN is. And you know this weird theory I have about the mega Ferris wheels, which I believe still has merit. I'm not going to give up on that one yet. Break into the throne room, and it's even in the Bible, the 5 eyes. You know, I will exalt I will take break into the throne room, take over, kick God out, blast into Hades, free their trapped brethren, and take over and live forever. You know, so to take over the world, you got to take over the governments, right? And to take over the kingdom, you got to take over the world, and take over the universe, you got to take over the throne room, and that's their goal. As crazy as it sounds, but look at them. They're getting very close. They're getting they have most of humanity under their control now.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to understand. Elon Musk keeps blasting these rockets, and although they'll say, "Oh, we're going to Mars, we're going to the moon," all I see is CGI photos. I do not see anything credible. And I just hear these elaborate stories by NASA. They put a bunch of junk out there. You have physicists and astrophysicists and everyone saying, "Oh, this is real. It's good. This is what we're doing, blah, 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 the moon." And there's no proof to me. There is no proof except what I can see in a telescope. Yeah, I see meteor hits on the moon. I see craters, but there's no proof to me that we can even get past lower space orbit, Earth's orbit. I just don't believe it. And it seems to me like Elon is trying to bust through the firmament to break through to go to this war that you speak of with God. Am I off on this?
No, I think I think what Elon is doing is testing. He's gathering metrics and to put the final touches, the final tweaks on the CERN technology. I believe that they're going to use the CERN technology to blast holes through the firmament. They already figured out they can't use conventional, bombs, nuclear bombs. They've tried that over and over again. It doesn't work. We have all the evidence. We've seen it. Operation Fishbowl. And
I'm just going to show a quick image from a video of one of Elon's rockets in space, and you all tell me what you think this looks like. That looks to me, and what does that look like to you, Craig? That's a rocket, in space. That to me looks like a jet boat on water to me.
It does, yeah. That's exactly what it looks like. You can even see the wake.
I mean, I'm sorry to state the obvious here, but is that why the sky is really blue, despite what they tell you? I mean, when you look at this, it looks like when the rockets are hitting whatever it's hitting, firmament, trying to get through so they can have their war with God or whatever, it looks to me like it's hitting water, and that looks like a jet boat on an ocean or on a lake.
And consider what you just said. You said you were apologizing for the obvious, right? But that's where that's because they've got humanity so dumbed down that the truthers, people like us who know what's going on, it's really hard to explain to people, to express ourselves, because it seems so simple. It looks like a boat. It looks like water. And then these people are going to go, "Oh, come on, you're just crazy. You've been watching too many YouTube videos." But I mean, my eyes see what my eyes see.
Yeah, and they're telling you not to believe that.
Right, and then tell you not to believe it. And it's constant gaslighting.
And I have a hard, I watch, a lot of this stuff on Flat Earth and stuff like that. I can't go that far out on the limb, but I will say there's something there. And I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And when I look at this stuff and you tell me about them wanting to create a war with God, it makes sense now. It's all making sense.
Yeah. Well, and as far as the flat Earth, I'm not sold on that as well. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I know it's not a globe. I know it's not flat. I just think of it as a realm that we're never going to understand till we're on the outside. I mean, how's a fish going to describe the fishbowl from the inside?
100%. I agree with that. So let's get back to this. I mean, so you got to the point where you wanted to escape this system.
So I stayed
at any cost, correct?
At any cost. I left everything behind. I had 2 Harleys, 2 custom Harleys. I had a $12 million stock portfolio. I had a lot of material objects, a lot of suits,
And it was all because you felt like you were going to go to hell?
Yeah. I was
And
hellbound.
that really, you
Definitely
didn't have
hellbound.
like a disagreement. You weren't like kicked out. You felt like your conscience got to you, your soul got to you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you don't get kicked out at that point. You either, if you start fading away at that point, they'll just find some place for you to go. And that happens to a lot of guys. They get to a point that they're not going to talk. They're not ready to talk. They don't even know that they have something to talk about. And the elders will sense that there's something going on. They'll just ship them off somewhere else, and give them a CEO job at some rinky-dink company in Stockton or something. And they're fine. They're fine. But for me, I realized what was going on. I got to a point. I think it's because God reached in and whacked me upside the head, one night, really. And I felt fear. I felt fear from, I fled and I fled and I fled, and I hid for 25 years. And then I didn't. And then when I came out, and landed in Dr. Corsi's hands, I did not want to write that book. It took 6 years to write it. I did not want to write it, but I had to. I had to write it. I did write it, and I knew that it was going to cause me trouble. But I expected the trouble, but I let my guard down because I got so full of myself. After all that time hiding, I became socially inept, and then I came out, and I was very nervous about the whole. You know how nervous I was, and then all of a sudden the book starts selling, and I got recognized in public, and man, I got full of myself again. Right? And I started pissing people off because I thought, okay, I'm untouchable. I can do anything I want. I can expose everything. I mean, everybody's got skeletons. Who cares? But I had this. It's because I'd let my guard down, and the demons came back, and I did not. One night in particular, I had a really bad night because obviously there's a temple across the river, a satanic temple across the river from us, and I think a bunch of people got in there one night and were doing their spells on me, and I felt it, and instead of getting on my hands and knees and praying and fasting, getting rid of it, I kind of wrote it. I kind of used it as a marketing tool, and I look back now and I'm like, what a terrible mistake I made. And next thing I know,
you're really coming clean on this, man. That's good. That's good for your soul. When you're talking about Corsi, you're talking about Dr. Jerome Corsi.
Yes, yeah. He's the one that brought me help. He's the one who single-handedly brought me out. If it was for Dr. Corsi, I would still be hiding.
So Dr. Corsi talked you into writing the book and just putting it all out there, basically.
Yeah, Dr. Corsi spent about a year, maybe longer, having conversations with me, almost, at least 3 or 4 times a week, long conversations, an hour long sometimes, of just talking about. And he was very helpful in helping me get through a lot of the emotional and spiritual problems I was having. He was extremely helpful. And then he helped me write the book. And then, when I got full of myself, I alienated everybody, including him. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm trying to recover. I mean, I can explain myself. I know it's not good enough, but there it is. That's I can't go back. I screwed up.
Well, I know you've even talked to Juanito. I know you've talked to a lot of people. I know you're still going through it. You're a very tortured individual. We could say that, right? I mean, you are getting pulled in every direction. You're kind of paranoid, right? You're always having to look out your window, correct?
Correct. And this I mean, I'm sure you've heard I got arrested. It's because I let my guard down. I was full of myself.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, before we go down that road, because we're going to hit that right now. But
okay.
You talk about some big names. Can you say the names here so my audience can research them and look into them? Obviously, we know Elon Musk. Elon Musk seems to me like he's also a very tortured soul. Like he's trying to break out of the, that he's working with Trump, but you could just see it in him that he looks very tortured. Like,
I know what you mean.
He was brought up in the cult family, it seems to me, and his mother did witchcraft. It's very weird stuff around Elon Musk. And then now he was a DARPA funded guy. Now they're trying to make him look like the next Iron Man. Has kids all over the planet. But it seems like he was intercepted to me by the Trump operation, and he's working for the good side now. Am I off on that?
No, I don't know if you're off. I don't think you're off it. It's hard to figure those guys out. And, I watch them closely. That whole group, Trump and his group are really, I can figure everybody else out. no, from my perspective, from my peculiar perspective, and that's an important point I want to make. Is from my perspective, and my perspective is very skewed based on my experiences. But I'm always looking. I'm always suspect of everyone. I'm always looking for that gotcha. But with Trump and those guys, sometimes I'm convinced they're one of them, and sometimes it's like, well, but maybe they're not. Maybe they got this figured out. But I haven't spent enough time trying to figure them out, and I need to get back to that. I mean, right now I'm just trying to survive.
Right. So let's go through some names. Elon Musk, we're kind of 50-50 on him, right? What about Bezos? What about Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel? What do you feel about those men?
Lucy's. They're all top Lucy's. They've been Lucy's for a long time. It's when I first met Corsi, I gave him a couple of names to people that I was watching. One of them was Elon Musk, and at that time, Elon I think was still with PayPal. Nobody really. I mean, people knew who he was, and then I mentioned Larry Ellison, and Dr. Corsi he knew who Larry Ellison was, but he sort of characterized him as that old man who runs Oracle. And now we all know who Larry Ellison is. In fact, Larry Ellison is sort of the model I use for the main protagonist in my novel.
Who is Larry Ellison? I'm not too familiar with him, but I mean, I don't know these tech guys. I was always a jock in school, so I didn't really pay attention to the nerds.
Well, he's got yeah. He's
Nerds on the world. So there we go.
Yeah, Revenge of the Nerds. Well, he's got a CIA family background, and he sort of, if you look at him, he sort of kind of started this company called Oracle, but really it was just handed to him. He now owns, I put together a list of all the companies he's procured in Silicon Valley, and even I can scroll the list by so fast that you can't read it, and it still goes on for 5 minutes. I mean, he literally owns every company. Well, I shouldn't say literally. He literally almost owns every single company in Silicon Valley. He also owns most of Malibu because his son and daughter, both trannies, are major producers in Hollywood. Name them a movie and they're in on it. Any movie, they're in on it. And so that's the Hollywood connection, right? And then he also owns most of Lake Tahoe because he really likes it up there. I haven't really figured out the connection with Lake Tahoe. And then he owns an entire island of Lanai, and I know why the elites love Hawaii. It's because of the cannibalistic culture there, the cannibalistic history, and all the torture and all the demons that are still there. It's a place for them to go for respite. They're comfortable there. They're safe there. All those there. It's just stick with demons because of all the agony and torture and cannibalism that's gone on over there for years. Hawaii is one of the, if not the only, successful cannibalistic society in history.
Wow. Well, I've also heard Lake Tahoe has caverns under the lake that go into the inner earth. Jacques Cousteau went down to the bottom of Lake Tahoe and said, when he came up, he said, the world is not ready for what I've seen. Now, a lot of people will say, well, he saw a lot of dead mafia bodies down, bodies down there. So I don't know what he saw. Nobody knows, but I mean, I tend to think maybe he saw some kind of alien civilization or something that just was so fantastical he couldn't explain it, and he knew he could never reveal it to the planet. I don't know. Another dimension, who knows? But I've heard that Lake Tahoe has caverns that go into the inner earth. Maybe that's to them, a doorway to hell.
It could be. I spent a lot of time during that time in Tahoe. I had a condo at North Star, and I've been to a lot of parties and orgies and rituals in that area because a lot of those guys have really big, huge mansions in and around the lake. So like I said, I realize there is a connection. And I remember when we were there was always these rumors about the mysteries of Lake Tahoe, and people are always talking about the strange things they see and stuff like that out in the forest, and so there was something there. I just haven't had the time yet. We're trying to get out of here. We're very close to getting out of here. We have to get out of here. And our destination is to get somewhere around Lake Tahoe, or somewhere in the Sierras. That's my old stomping ground. I want to get back there. That's kind of where I grew up.
So since you've come out, you've been on quite a few podcasts, not just mine, but you've gone on some other ones. Do you feel like are you being spiritually attacked? Are you being, we could say, quote unquote, they're after you, right? You feel that. You said that they were at a church praying, putting demonic spells on you. Are you sure that's not in your head? How do you know they were doing that? Maybe you're just paranoid. Could you just be paranoid because there's so much information you're putting out there that you feel like they may be after you, but maybe they're not. Maybe.
Well, the way it works is
paranoia here.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. You never know, right? But there's a lot of evidence, and the last thing I want to do is okay. Well, okay. So the way it works is when you do something like I did, write that book, there's gonna be a lot of demons assigned to me. Not just the lowly ones, but there's gonna be a lot of demons. Doesn't mean that they're gonna break through. They're just
okay. So you're talking about the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, there's demons in now assigned.
Yeah, you can call them whatever you want. I call them demons. There's a lot of discussion about what exactly they are, but they're nefarious and they're out to do you harm and out to mess you up, especially if you write a book about exposing them, right? So they're going to assign a bunch of demons are going to be assigned to me, and the demons' job is to try to screw me up as every chance they get. So, for example, I was walking through the parking lot one day, and some guy who was very, very weak, who was a street guy, got influenced by them because he doesn't have that kind of spiritual strength, and he ended up pushing me down the stairs, kicking me in the teeth, knocked a bunch of my teeth out. This was like maybe a year after I wrote the book. So what happens is
hold on. So I agree with you on this. Well, I always feel demons are after the people who are the truth seekers, the people that are exposing things, and they assign demons to you, but the demons go after the weak links, whether they're your friends, your family, or a stranger on the street. So I agree with you there. So yeah, you just hit a home run there with me, because I do feel that. I feel like that there's someone next to you that they can possess easily to do something to you or whatever. They go for the weakest link. There's people that are spiritual inept or spiritually weak, right? Is that what you're saying?
So yeah, so it's very confusing because you can get two people who have the same position, the same outlook, the same everything, but one is weak and one isn't. The demons are going to use the weak one to come after me. They're not going to use the strong guy because they're going to waste their time. So that's why it's kind of confusing sometimes, because you can talk to somebody and everything goes fine, and you talk to the next guy and all of a sudden he's out to get you, and you wonder, well, what the hell happened? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just a different guy. And it's because this guy's weak and he's being heavily influenced by the demons so everybody's got it. You probably have a bunch of I'm sure you got tons of demons assigned you, probably more than me, more than most people, right? So when you run into
I'm naming them all. They sit right. They're always around me.
well, yeah, because they can't get to you. So all they can do is surround you and get to the people around you. And that not necessarily loved ones, because you also have angels.
I feel like I have guardian angels. I feel like we all have angels assigned to it. Those
guardian angels are going to guard your loved ones just as much as they're going to guard you. But it's a spiritual battle. We all feel it. We're all in the middle of it. It's ramping up. This is probably the end game here. This battle. That's why everybody's so confused. Everybody's mad. Everybody's scared. Everybody's paranoid. Everybody, in my opinion, now is a whistleblower. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody's being held down. I think if we all rose up and started telling our stories instead of being afraid about, oh, they're going to think I'm crazy, they're going to think I'm paranoid, just go out and say it, but be prepared for the attacks, spiritually prepared for the attacks in the aftermath. And I mean, that doesn't mean just buying guns and biscuits. It means being spiritually prepared. And that's where I blew it this time. After that episode, that one night where people were obviously spell casting, I should have gotten on my hands and I should have got on my knees and I should have fasted and prayed that away for 2 days. Instead, I wrote on it. I took it as a evidence. Like, see, there, I'm telling the truth. Right?
I see a lot of people on social media, and it looks like mental illness is now like the trend, right?
Yeah.
Just the weirdness, of people like doing whatever they can do for likes and attention on social media. And I see now that I've been sober 6 years and 7 months, I see demonic possession like I've never seen it before. Like I see demons now that are possessing a lot of people, even on social media. And that's where I never used to see it that way. And now when I look at alcohol and I think about, wow, well vodka, spirits, they call it liquor and spirits, and then gin. Well, what's a gin?
Right, you know what right.
And we drink gin, right? The spirit.
Muslim demon, yeah.
They're right there. They're in the alcohol, folks. I mean, it's right there. Look at the names of the alcohol. Look at the symbology on the alcohol bottles. I mean, it's all right there. And now I look at it more than ever. I see this spiritual war like I just was blinded to before. You know, I was just time. I was doing my thing. I was, chasing women, drinking. I thought that was just a natural thing guys did, and maybe so. But here I am now looking at it like, whoa, what a different perspective. Like I just put on these glasses that I'm able to just see through the veil.
And that makes you the perfect person to do what you're doing. You're helping expose. You're bringing people like me on, and allowing, giving me an audience that I wouldn't have otherwise to warn people what's going on. So it's not that you were blind. It's just that you're no longer in denial. That most people are in denial about what they're, and we've been trained to be in denial. We've been trained to think that, well, we must be paranoid, we must be crazy if we see something that nobody else sees. But everybody else sees it. It's like the emperor's new clothes, right? Except opposite. We're all pretending like they're not there when they actually are.
Well, it's kind of like, you look at the indigenous people, they saw skinwalkers and they saw shapeshifters. They talked about this since the beginning of time.
Right.
And giants and things like that. So these are not just, this is not just folklore. This is real stuff. It's all coming together for me now. Like, even every time I do a podcast or talk to someone like you, I'm learning with my audience. That's why I guess I ask the questions I do, because I'm not scared. I'll ask the most elementary of questions because I'm learning as well.
Right.
Where are you at now with everything? Because, okay, it's been years, and obviously the spiritual war is still, it's still going very strong in your life. So how are you coping? What are you doing? What are you seeing? And then let's talk about the incident that just happened to you.
Okay. Well, I was, the book is doing well, a lot better than anybody expected, especially me. I didn't think it would go anywhere, but it's doing well. It's not, for such a hard read, it's doing quite well. It's a very hard read. You probably at this point don't even need to read, because you already know everything. You already know about everything. It might just be an interesting read anyway, but it's very graphic. It's
when you say a hard read, you mean like disturbing, or like a hard read meaning what?
Well, my writing style is easy to read, but the content is very hard to get your head wrapped around. It's very hard to it's very hard to read it. And the reason is because I didn't want to sugarcoat. It was a hard life. It was a hard situation I was in. By hard, I mean just out there, and I didn't want to sugarcoat it. What was the point of that? I wanted the reader to experience everything that is going on, with the characters, with the victims, with the whole, with even with the bad guys. I tried to put as much detail as I could, as much backstory in it, so that it would give the reader an idea, why are these people making such horrible decisions? And it goes way back. They've been groomed for a very long time to do this. We all are. We've all been groomed. We're all individually groomed to make bad decisions.
And we're trying to break that hypnosis or that trance that we're all in right now. I mean, these are the steps we're taking to do that. I mean, we have to unlearn everything that we thought was real, right, Craig? I mean, that's what's so crazy about it, is that you have to unlearn. We've been going to indoctrination camps since we were kids. We get on a school bus, we go to school. Yeah. Little did we know we were being programmed the entire time to be a worker ant for the same system that's going to kill us.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it? When you look back now, it's like, man, we were on that 50-year plan.
Yeah. I mean, and I never thought ditching school and getting in trouble like I did would have paid off for me, but it did. I mean, I thought I saw through the bullshit at a very, very young age, man, and I couldn't explain it to people, but I just knew that it was wrong. I felt like a dog doing tricks for treats, and I was like, that's not who I am.
So the book was selling. I was going on these podcasts, and I was getting full of myself, and getting that celebrity kind of feeling. I remember I've been out of it for 25 years. I'm socially inept. I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to socialize. I'm relearning the whole thing, and I made a lot of stupid mistakes that I'm trying to recover. It's kind of like almost like an apology tour at this point, but but things are going good. I just signed a new book deal. We were going to try to get the second book out in October. The first book came out in October, and October is a good time of year to bring that kind of book out. But then some things happened, and I'm not going to make that deadline. Right now, I'm just trying to deal with some some events that occurred recently that I should have been prepared for. I wasn't, and this is now I'm going to have to be.
So there's been some things that have happened to you. I mean, you called me terrified to death at one point that they were marking a trail next to your house. You want to go into that? I mean, you were
yes. So that's like the last time you and I spoke was when they had started sending me messages, and I'd been getting death threats and bad reviews, and that's so. I try to explain to people this isn't like, they said they moved that into the war room and all the generals said we got to do something about this Craig Glenn character, and they assigned a task force and to come after me. That's not how it works. I'm on one side, they're on the other side. You and I are on one side, they're on the other side, and we make moves, they make moves. I took it upon myself to make a move, and I wrote that book. And then people on the other side take it upon themselves to make a move, and they might, write a bad review, send me a death threat, or if they have more clout, then they might do something that the average person can't do, like send me a specific short based on an interview that I did with somebody with the numbers all skewed, so it came out to 9/11. So to me, they sent me a 9/11 message, and I'm very big on these numbers, and it was very blatant.
You're saying this is coming out from people. This is coming from the spiritual realm down to you, to where you can identify it, correct?
Right. So the people who were being influenced on that side to do things to me, to mess me up, were moving up. They were getting more and more. These people were getting higher and higher. My enemies were getting bigger and bigger. Put it that way. Which they were getting more and more formidable, right? So so for example, to get a custom built short sent to me directly, they had to have access to the super admins over at YouTube, right? They had to get at least to. It could have been one super admin even, but I think he probably would have lost his job. It had to be somebody had to have told these super admins, create this specific. I mean, that's how they work anyway. All these, that line of shorts that you doom scroll through, those are all custom built for you anyway by the algorithms. They can jump in. A human being can jump in at any point and tweak them even more, right? And then send them all off, right? So that's what scared me, was that somebody had that kind of clout, which meant that they were getting more serious, that my enemies were getting more serious. And I should have at that point. At that point, I already had my teeth knocked out. It looked like I got poisoned at one point. A couple other things, and then I got that, and then we came home. We were supposed to be isolated, and there was red ribbons going from the highway all the way up to our cabin.
You're supposed to be isolated, meaning you leave. Okay, you live in a cabin in the woods. What do you mean red ribbons?
So somebody had left a series of red ribbons. So we used a Forest Service road for about the first 4 or 5 miles to get to our place, and then we're on private property, and it's very difficult road, and there's no reason for anybody to come up here at all. But we came out one day and we saw a red ribbon on the side of the road. So I pulled it off, and then and those red ribbons led all the way back down to the highway. And then that was right after we got the I got that weird message, right? And then, I didn't really do much about it except whine and complain. I should have. So
what kind of message did you get? Because the reason I can relate to this is when I accidentally made a viral video in 2020 about kids being trafficked, the whole thing. I got millions upon millions of views. It scared the living hell out of me. About a week and a half later, my dog was found dead with his head bashed in with a bat. And I knew right then and there, I pissed somebody off. And right. I can't explain. And that's why I relate to the story of how you were explaining it. Demon possession of someone of a weaker spirit. I think someone hopped the fence for no reason and just decided to bash my dog's head in because they got possessed by whatever spirit I pissed off, right? Or whatever that realm. They found the weakest link, took control of that person. They jumped my yard and hit my dog. That's how I received it.
Right, because in your context, that's the only way you can. That's the only way you can make sense of it, right? You're in your own context, and you know for a fact that that's what happened. Somebody outside that context is going to say, "Oh, come on, that could have been just some crazy guy. And you just randomly happened." But you know it didn't. I know it didn't. I mean, when you get to this, when you're in this system like this, you know things. It's hard to express. It's hard to tell people, and sometimes I don't even bother. But I know, right? So things started getting a little bit more serious, and I still wasn't doing much about it. And in fact, I was kind of letting myself go. It seems like a bunch of other things happened, but what I was talking about. So when you get a short, it has the number of views and the number of likes on there, and those are the only two numbers that change. And one was 11, the other one was 9, so it was a 911. It was like 333, and I'll have to go look at it again, but it was a Jayco.
You would only identify with. Anybody else would just be like, this guy's crazy. But you
right,
know, it resonated with you. Your spirit understood it.
Right. And so think of how much of a coincidence it would have to be for someone like me, who's always looking at 333s and one of this. I mean, I'm really into the numbers and the signs and symbols. Think of what a coincidence would be for this one short to flash up with those count numbers on it and then go away. I just happened to capture it. I saw it and I captured it, and then the numbers changed. But when it first presented to me, that's what it was. Right. I think saw it right away.
I believe you. Listen, I believe you, but I think just don't give it energy. Where focus goes, energy flows. Just don't give it any energy anymore.
See, that's exactly where I blew it. I did exactly what you're advising me not to do. I gave it that energy. I promoted it. I showed it. You know, I whined about it. I should have said, okay, well, they're sending me messages. I'm just going to keep moving on and keep doing my thing. But you're right. I gave them. You're right. And just a quick revelation here. You're right. I gave them that energy.
So let's talk about what recently just happened to you, in which now you have created a GoFundMe, correct?
Yes. Yeah. To pay for the legal, very expensive legal fees.
So you're in a situation legally now, and you've created a GoFundMe. What's the GoFundMe so I can show it up on the stage on this? Yeah.
It's actually Give Send Go. Okay. I think if you looked up Silicon Satan or Craig Lund, my wife put it together while I was incarcerated.
Okay, so here it is. So what happened? Let's go into this. So what happened? This is also another what you're calling a spiritual attack, correct?
Right. Yeah. So I was on a live show with Sean Atwood, and just before the show, I noticed on my security cameras there was a whole bunch of cars at our gate. And now sometimes we do get tourists that stumble up here because Google will lead them the wrong. They'll follow Google and they'll get themselves stuck up here, and we have to. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of cars. There were 3 or 4 cars, a bunch of strangers milling, but we're getting ready to go on air. So I just kind of kept an eye on it, and then we were having a lot of connectivity trouble, and then suddenly all my cameras went down, and not all my cameras, all my wireless cameras went down. The wired ones stayed up, right? Only the wire, and then my internet was lost, and I went out and I checked everything, and there was people out there, and it appears that somebody used a jammer to shut down all my cameras, all my security cameras, and my internet connection. It was very, very concerning. And then I went back on that show a couple of days later to kind of talk about that, and then before I knew it, I was arrested for assault, second-degree assault, and third-degree.
Well, hold on, let's go into the details here. I mean,
I have to be a little bit careful about the details because it is an ongoing case right now. And my attorney, I have a very good attorney who doesn't want me to say anything more than what's already on public record at this point.
Okay, that makes sense. But you got into an altercation, correct? Someone was blocking your entrance or something like that?
No. So that night, I didn't know what was going on. A group of people came up here. Everything got shut down except for the wired cameras, which I have a really good security system up here. I put the wired ones on purpose. The wired cameras are hidden, and they keep an eye on the wireless. You know what I mean? So if somebody goes and starts mucking around with my wireless cameras, I'm going to capture that on the wired ones, but not in real time. That gets recorded. So by the time I looked at all the videos, it appeared that there was even somebody in a uniform out there at the gate with all these people. And it appeared that there was some undercover vehicles. It wasn't real. The way my cameras are set up, they have to be pointed down at the gate because there's up here in Washington, they have all these weird, strange rules and laws about video cameras. So Sean Atwood invited me back on a couple of days later, and we talked about it and about what happened. And I was kind of going through it, and sort of at that point, I didn't have any trouble yet, so I was sort of making accusations and what I thought was going on. It's along the lines of the weak people, the weak links, the tyrannical, authoritarian types that are running around up here, especially in Washington. There's a lot of corruption up here. I'm not naming names. I'm not saying that my case has anything to do with that, but I'm saying that it's a fact. There's a lot of corruption in the system up here. And then a few days after that, I see on Michigan, there's a couple of sheriffs out there, so I go out there because I don't have any reason not to talk to them. And next thing I know, I'm getting arrested, and I was injured during the arrest, and then I was taken to the hospital and admitted.
Okay, so I've heard this story from your wife.
Yeah,
and I know how you got injured. I know the details. So you can't go into that, correct?
No, okay. Not yet. No, I can't. But needless to say, I was admitted into the hospital. So it wasn't like, cops are used to people saying, so the injury was severe enough to put me into AFib. And I went into AFibs. And so I was blacking out and turning blue. So they took me to the hospital. And then they admitted me, and then they transferred me to a different hospital, and then they admitted me overnight. And then they wanted me to do surgery the next day. So I couldn't eat anything or drink anything in prep for the surgery. I didn't want to have the surgery done there at that particular hospital. My wife is very familiar with the hospitals up there. She's in the system, and I had my ablation at UW Med and a few other things I wanted to do at UW Med. So I was packaged up and taken to the jailhouse and thrown into solitary confinement. And I had my meds with me, but they wouldn't give them to me. And I understand that they can't just take my meds. They don't know what I've done to them. I might have done something. What they do, their policy is that if you go in there with meds, they will verify the prescription, and then they will duplicate it with their own doctors and their own pharmacies, and that could take a couple of days. I need my meds every 3-4 hours. So I'm in this.
Obviously, you were taking the same thing I was, right? Blockers.
That's another thing I've been advised not to discuss is what
okay,
the med.
Okay.
What
so, I had the same problem you did. What, a week later or something like that?
Yeah. No, yeah, like
Crazy.
Just before that. Yeah. Did you ever? Anyway. So as I'm in there, my blood pressure was rising. They kept checking me. They kept checking my blood pressure. It was almost like they were taking me to the very limit. My blood pressure got up to 196 over 145 and a heart rate of 98.
Whoa! 196 over 145.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa!
And I needed to get to the judge because I couldn't get bailed out until I got before the judge. And it's almost like they were trying to get me back in their unit, back in their to be honest, the medical staff there with who they are and what they have to work with, they actually did a good job. They did a good job helping me. Some of them weren't so helpful. Some of them were. So it all came out in the wash, right? If it hadn't been for them, I would have died in there because I was seriously died. So when they took me to the holding cell to see the judge, I went into a seizure. They're calling it a seizure. They're calling it a. I'll go ahead and say it. They're calling it a seizure, but my wife has looked at the charts and she says, "No, you had a stroke in there. They stroked you out because your blood pressure was so high."
196 over 145. I've never heard of anything. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was sustained too. It wasn't just like it hit that, and that was sustained. And so then once I had the seizure, or they took me out of the courtroom holding cell and put me back into the clinic, and I thought, I'm going to miss my court. I got to get to the court in front of the judge, and they didn't want me to because of the state I was in. So they helped clean me up so I would be presentable enough in front of the judge so that I wouldn't look like a fool and they wouldn't look like they were torturing me, right? So I got in front of the judge. We got a bail set, and my wife got me bailed out. I got into her hands and yeah. Anyway, I get choked up.
Well, hey man, I understand this is hard to talk about. I get it. I understand it. I had the same problem you did. I blacked out twice at the floor. Ambulance was called. Dude, it's no joke.
Yeah, it's been a real tough time trying to recover. And see, this might be a blessing in disguise. There might be a catalyst here for me to do some really good things. And so the legal system is like the healthcare system. It's two-tier in America, and I've had a DUI. I've been in a little bit of trouble here and there. I've never spent the night in jail before, but if you get a mediocre attorney, you might as well not. You have to get a good attorney. And you need a top. I needed to get into the top tier attorney, and so that's what I did. I found a really good attorney. Todd Callender and Jamie Scare helped me find her. But she's expensive. They're expensive. They're costly, and so I didn't want to do a fundraiser because I guess pride. I guess, and not only that, but I didn't think it would really go anywhere. And so we asked for half of what we needed to start. Everybody convinced me, and then it went out there, and it was just overwhelming. David, that the amount of, the $5 donations are so. I didn't realize how they would affect me, but I realized these are people who really can't afford it, and they're doing it anyway. Sorry,
I agree with you. Here's your Gifts and Go, folks, where you go. Author of Silicone Satan in need of help. He's being spiritually attacked. They're after him. You got to help him out. And he's a very brave man. And I'll tell you right now, Craig, you've already done your part for humanity. Just releasing that book and going on podcasts, you already did it. This will live long after. If anything does happen to you, this will live forever. So,
thank you for saying that, David, because things like that just mean a lot. If anybody's thinking about being a whistleblower, don't think about just do it, but you got to be prepared. You just really got to be prepared. Don't get full of don't make a mistake I made. I turned it into a celebrityism thing. Instead of I lost track of my mission. I lost track of my mission. I'm back on track. Sometimes God's got to put you in a cold cell, get you on your hands and knees in a desperate situation before you will listen. And that's exactly what happened to me. I had to reopen up that channel. I'd close that channel. I let spiritual calcium build over that channel that I worked so hard to open with between me and God. And I got to a point where I said, okay, I'll take it from here. I'm good. Thanks. Right. And I was sending him messages, but now I'm back to on my knees, praying and having a conversation and figuring things out, and that's where everybody needs to be right now, because everybody might find themselves in the same situation, not for the same reason, but you may find yourself going, what the hell did just happen? How did I end up here? How in the hell am I going to get out of this? Right? I'm going to die here. I am literally going to die within the next 2 days if I don't get the fuck out of here. And, how are you going to do it? You got, there's people and they don't understand, and they're thinking, they're doing their thing. And my biggest concern, I'm in volcano earthquake area, and these people, if there was a big earthquake, these people aren't going to open up my door. They're going to take off running. I'm just stuck in there. And you know what? The other thing is, this place was horrible. This place was worse than you can imagine. Like I said, I've been in jail before. Last time I was in jail was in Tahoe City, and they brought me a nice cup of coffee the next morning. This place, you're lucky you're lucky to survive.
Yeah, I've been in the Mexican jail.
yeah, right. But that's probably is worse.
Oh, that's way worse. But yeah.
But see, for the surgery, they had loaded me up with all kinds of, and I'm not saying they did this on purpose. This is part of the protocol, part of what happened. They load you up with all kinds of steroids and other things that just knock your immune system out for a while. So they did that to me, and then they threw me in this hellhole full of all kinds of nastiness. But I'm lucky I didn't catch something.
I remember when I was in a cell, and it was in America, man, and I was surprised on this. I remember there was dried vomit all over the floor and the wall where I was at, and the toilet was stopped up. Like, they did not care. Right. They did not care, man. And I remember, I was like, oh, this is real. This is like, you think you're just going there, you'll get out the next day, no big deal. You're going to sleep overnight on a hard bench, no big deal. No, it's brutal, man. They don't care, and they purposely make it that way so you don't want to come back. They don't have to. They're not there to give you a luxury room. They're there to pay for you to pay for your whatever you did, your crimes, and it's
exactly. But they also assuming that you're guilty.
Yeah,
this assumption in jail is if you're here, you're guilty of something. So otherwise you wouldn't be here. And there was crap. There was even though they just mopped before they put me in my cell, which was cell number 6, by the way. I am with numbers. My case number ends with 66.
Oh, geez.
Cell number 6. They had just mopped it, but there was still a hunk of crap underneath the stainless steel toilet.
Oh, it's so brutal. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, I appreciate you coming on. Let me put it up here one more time. Bingo, there it is. Give send go to Craig Lund. He's almost at his he's about halfway to his goal. Let's help him out, folks. Let's do what we can do.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah, man, big time. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
I'll get this up this evening. All right. Stay with me one moment,
Right.
will you?
Yep.
Okay.